Okay, guys, we did it. We won the Modern Challenge that took place on the 26th of this month with Eldrazi Aggro. Here's the list. In this video, I'll go over a quick recap of the challenge and then I'll highlight some gameplay. I'll probably show a Boros matchup because that was the most common match of the challenge that I faced, and then talk about some sideboard mapping. But first, uh, we won the Modern Challenge. We did it with Eldrazi Aggro. Okay, technically we split the challenge with Boros, but we got there. So quick recap of the top eight. In the quarterfinals, we played against Super Cal. Super Cal was on Mill. Um, we kind of were able to steamroll Mill. The first match, I was able to be on the play, I believe, and I just played a turn one chalice on one, and they had all one drops in hand, and they just conceded the first match right away. So great start to the first match of the top eight, and then we were able to win the next match. Semifinals, we had a really grindy game against like a Esper Blink Ketramos deck. It came down to match three. Very grindy, super fun match to play. Maybe I'll make another recap video on that match. And then in the finals, we split with this player right here. They were playing Boros Energy, and they were the only one to beat us in the Swiss rounds as well. So really good player. Check him out on Twitter. But yeah, super fun. Overall, we went technically 9-1 in this challenge. With our only loss to Boros Energy. So first round we played against Boros. We 2-0'd Boros. Second round we played against Storm. We beat them 2-1. It was like an Is It Storm version. Match three we played against Domain Zoo. We were able to beat them. I went to game three. Then match four we played against Boros Energy again. We were able to 2-0 Boros Energy. And then match five, we 2-0 Titan, which was surprising to me. I thought that would be a harder matchup, but we were able to kind of just steamroll them. Match six was our only loss. Again, we lost to this player playing Boros Energy. They kind of just went super quick with their one drops. I think game one they went like Ocelot Pride, and then turn two they went Ocelot Pride, and then turn three they went a Johnny, and we just weren't able to stop how wide they were going. Um, match seven, we played against Is It Prowess. We are able to 2-0 them. Sorry, match seven. Yeah, match seven, the last round of the Swiss we played against Is It Prowess. And the deck can just steam, like, I think the deck is really well positioned against Is It Prowess because you have Chalices, you have Transfer in a sideboard, you have Battle Mage, which can blow up a Corey Steelcutter. Um, so a lot of ways to interact with that deck and kind of just steamroll them. So let's go ahead and get into some sideboarding mapping with some of the most common matchups in the meta. So before I get into the sideboard mapping, I just want to shout out my buddy who makes like these shirts. They're custom, not custom prints. This is actually his own design. I believe he hand drawn this. Shirt is super comfortable, really sick design. I'm gonna put a link in the description for his online store. Definitely check him out. Really cool art, super sweet. All right, so this is the list we played. I guess I'll do a recap, or not recap, a quick discussion on the deck itself before I go into sideboard mapping. Um, so four Caverns of Souls, really strong against like decks that are playing a lot of counter magic. It just makes your creatures uncounterable. Like we are concerned about Consign the Memory, but this card allows us to land our like creatures onto the battlefield. They might be able to consign the cast triggers, but we're technically an aggro deck, so we just need creatures on the field to be able to attack and stick to the aggro plan. So Cavern Souls makes a lot of sense. Makes your Eldrazi spells uncounterable, and it provides a color source for Wastegate Battle Mage, your Line Breaker, and Micro Spawn. So obviously makes sense. And then, your 4 Eldrazi temples. Don't really have to explain that. We got 1 gemstone for explosive on the draw games. I recommend definitely having 1 gemstones. Um, our basics, we have a mountain, forest, and waste. Forest is mainly for your micro spawn and being able to kick your battle mage makes sense. A mountain is to be able to cast your line breaker, so it also makes sense. And then 1 waste, just so we can cast some of our spells that require a colorless mana through like a blood moon or a harbinger of the seas. We have 2 prismatic vistas in the deck. I think it makes sense. This is like a huge argument in this type of archetype, like if it's needed or not. To be honest, I copied this mana base from Magic Mike DeVoe. Um, and with this mana base, this deck has been performing really well. So I don't have any contentions with changing it. Um, I think I will test out. I mean, I should test out some other versions, playing more like courtyards and unclaimed territories. But I think the logic is you want to be able to fetch your basics against like moon effects. So having 2 and just being able to do that makes sense to me. So and then 1 ghost quarter has been super helpful against Titan and Eldrazi ramp as well, and sometimes in the mirror. So definitely recommend one ghost quarter. So let's talk about some of the creatures we've selected. So Herald, this card really strong in the aggro plan. A lot of times you can play it turn 1, and then turn 2 you can cast your line breaker. So Herald buffs your colorless creatures by +1/+1. So if you go turn 1 here, turn 2 cast a line breaker, this gets bumped to a 4/4, and then you have 2 Eldrazi's on the field. So it gets bumped to a 6/4. So you can swing for 8 turn 2, which is very strong. So in addition to that, it also reduces your 7 drops. We're playing a lot. We're playing 10 7 drops, so a lot of 7 drops for mainly for our Urgun's Labyrinth. But this reduces the cost. That will come up. Very helpful, making like a Devour 6 drop to be able to like exile one of their creatures or permanents that's causing trouble. Now let's talk about my favorite card, Westgate Battle Mage. This card does it all. Just by itself, for 2 mana, you get a 2/2. Sometimes I'll cast this on turn 2 with like a line breaker in hand just to be able to swing for what would be that force. Just to be able to swing for 6 turn 2. But it does a lot. And these are cast triggers. So for a green kicker cost, you can exile an artifact and enchantment. So in the Steel Cutter Urza Saga meta, this card is really good. You can blow up Urza Saga. You can blow up artifact land, like those artifact lands that are indestructible. This can get rid of it because it can exile it. And for generic and a blue, you can bounce a creature, which comes up more often than you would think. You can bounce a construct token. You can bounce a Murktide that's been causing trouble. You can bounce a frog that has a lot of counters on it. Reset the counters. And for 5 mana with those 2 colors, you can do it all. So Westgate Battle Mage is legit my favorite card, and I'm really considering playing 4 in the main because I sideboard the extra 2 in my sideboard a lot. And then Eldrazi Linebreaker card's really strong. It gets buffed. And you can also target other Eldrazi's. I guess it doesn't even have to be Eldrazi. You can target another creature to give it plus X plus O. So it lets you go wide in different avenues. Very strong card. Glaring Fleshraker makes sense in the list. You know, you make some spawns to have more Eldrazi's on the field to buff up your Linebreaker trigger. And then we're playing the 4 micro spawns and then 4 Thought Not Seers. I've seen some other versions playing that red green mana. I think it's Chrysalis, where when it enters, you just get 2 spawns. I haven't tested that out yet, but I am aware of it, and I think that makes sense as well. I'm a little hesitant because that card requires like harder mana, or it requires 2 set mana colors to be able to cast it. So I don't know if I like that or not. I might have to change my mana base. Like maybe instead of the vistas, like more courtyards or territories would make more sense in that kind of build. But microspawn, really good card. You kick it, you get an extra land, or you can just get an extra land in general. If you kick it, you exile one of their lands. Thought Not Seer, doing this on turn 2, very strong. It by itself is just a 4/4 blocker, and then you get an exile card in their hand. It does have the drawback of when it is removed from the field, they get to draw a card, but doing this on turn 2, very strong. A lot of times I'll turn 2 a Line Breaker, turn 3 a Thought Not, and you're just swinging for a bunch of damage. Devourers of Destiny, you know, helps with getting your mana base right. You get to look at the top 4 cards, put a card you need. Oftentimes it's like, oh, I'm looking for that soul land, or I'm looking for a way to get a colored source. So very helpful in the deck. 1 All's Dust main. I like just having it, you know, in case things are going really bad, and that 1 top deck, All's Dust can clear the field, get you there. 2 Null Drifters just to be able to draw some cards. And then 3 Sires. This card, really good with Linebreaker. So if you have a Linebreaker on the field, you can just go ahead and give this haste and swing for a bunch, gain a bunch. You know, Kozilek's Command, broken card. And then 4 Chalice. Chalice is really good in the meta. There's a lot of you know, 0 drops in going on with all the Moxes and Steel Cutters and stuff. And then Chalice on 1 can just win games. So going into the sideboard, Dismembers can deal with Ketchermos, can deal with a lot of creatures. I just played a game where my opponent had a 6/6 Murktide, and I had just a Linebreaker on the field. I attacked with my 4/3 Linebreaker, and they blocked. I was able to Dismember it, get over some trample. So Dismember, we like 3. Battle Mage, already talked about it. My favorite card. Might switch it into the main board. 1 All's Dust, clear the field. 3 Trinispheres, mainly for like Storm and Is It Prowess, Torpor Orb. There's some contention between Thought Not Seer and Torpor Orb, but I think it's worth just having a 1 of. Relics, Graveyard Hate. I find it really good in the mirror matchup as well. Disruptor Flutes, I go back and forth on. I think it makes sense just to have something. I mean, and oftentimes we can cast this turn 1 with like a Ugin's Labyrinth. You can name like a Karn Great the Creator. You can, you know, really tax some spells. Like I was playing against Indomitable Creativity. I was able to basically name this on Creativity, and they couldn't cast it. So also that Neoform deck has been popping up. It's pretty good to cast against them and just name the rider, so they can't just pop off. So that's a quick recap of my deck here. Let's get into some of the sideboarding matchups. So let's talk about Boros Energy. Let me just pull up No, I don't need to pull up the deck. Boros Energy, what we typically do, let's see. I have this all written down. So if you do want to know how I sideboard map, just DM me on X or find me on Discord. I'm in a lot of Discords. Um, I'll send it over. I just would request that you subscribe to my channel and follow me on X, and then no problem sending out how I sideboard. All right, so for Boros, what we bring in is an All is Dust, 2 Wastecape Battle Mages, and 3 Dismembers. That's what we bring in. And then what we cut is the micro spawns and the null drifters. Not, yeah, null drifters. So dismembers are to deal with their early threats, like a turn 1 Ragavan, turn 1 God of Souls, Ocelot Pride. Sometimes they'll go turn 2 a Johnny in response to their cat being cat token on the stack. I'll just dismember their Johnny to prevent them from being able to flip a Johnny. So dismembers make a lot of sense. Battle mages, you can say they go turn 1, Ocelot Pride, and in the late game you like slam a Chalice and they just have a 1-drop creature on the field. You can bounce their creature and then they just can't cast it if you have Chalice on 1. All's does make sense. You just wipe the field, can be game winning. Going back on Battle Mage, blowing up Blood Moon and also Fable the Mirror Breaker. Um, you can bounce their Fable token and then also exile their Saga. So really good against Fable the Mirror Breaker as well. In addition to Bombardment, you can just get rid of their Bombardment, stop them from dealing a lot of damage. Um, Siding out, I think it makes sense to take out the micro spawns. It's just a little too slow. We want to be interactive and we want to be, dealing them damage. And I think, waiting to uh, cast this micro spawn will take too long. And then null drifters, again, I think a little too slow. It does draw your cards, but I think we can do without. So that's how we sideboard against Boros Energy. Let's go into another matchup that's common. Let's talk about Is It Prowess. That deck has been popping up a lot lately with the Protein of Corey Steelcutter. So Is It Prowess is kind of similar in terms of cutting cards. We cut the micro spawns as well and the null drifters. I don't bring in the dismembers. I don't like dealing myself 4 damage to be able to deal with a threat, especially if it's like a monk token that they can just get another one the next turn. So we do bring in the battle mages, and then instead of the dismembers, we bring in the Trinispheres, and then I think we bring in the All is Dust as well. Yeah, and then we bring in the All is Dust to clean the board. So battle mage, like I've been saying, can just really turn the tide against Is It Prowess. You can exile their Core Steelcutter and then bounce their token. Very strong against Is It Prowess. Trinisphere, just game winning if you're able to cast this on turn 2. They're trying to cast a lot of spells, a lot of free spells, just not free spells, low mana cost, or like Mutagenic Growth where you can just pay 2 life instead of doing it. This makes it all cost 3, and then again, all this does make sense, just clears the board. So that's how we sideboard against Is It Prowess. Let's see, what's another common deck in the meta? Let's talk about Dimir. So Demir, I go back and forth on. I just played Demir before making this video, and we were able to beat him. Um, what we bring in is the relics. Again, the battle mages. Um, really tempted to bring like just play 4 of these. Um, bring the battle mages, and then the dismembers. So what we cut as well is the null drifters, 1 heralds, a line breaker, all is dust, a devour, and there was 1 more card. This is where it gets tough. I think it was a flesh raker I cut. So let's talk about reasons to cut null drifter. They play Orcish Blowmaster. I think it's fine to get rid of the null drifter. 1 heralds. We have 3 that we typically play in the main board. These 1-ofs are just like kind of just trimming cards for being able to bring in sideboard. So we just kind of trim on cards we have multiples of. I won't go through all of them, but against the mirror, relic is really good. It prevents them from casting Murktide a lot of the time, and I find it really good against Frog as well. Kind of prevents them from being able to make Frog flying. So there is a little bit of contention between Relic and Chalice, so you kind of just got to be careful. Remember, if you have a Chalice on 1, you can't cast Relic, so just keep that in mind. Battle Mage, being able to bounce like a Frog with a lot of counters on it, or a Murktide with a lot of counters on it, just to reset it, really good. Dismember, really good against the main logic for bringing in Dismember is against Harbinger. Just having a way to kill it. Kills a Tameo, can kill a Frog if they don't have enough counters on it or ability to put counters on it. It can decrease the size of a Murktide, where if we're going in with combat, we can just, if they block, we kill it. So I think it's worth bringing in the Dismembers. So that's how we sideboard against Demir Murktide. Yeah, so let me know in the comments below what other matchups you kind of want to know how to sideboard against. I'll respond. Happy to help out. Overall, this list is very strong. Highly recommend testing it out. I know a lot of my friends who saw my results have already started buying the deck. Shout out Larry. Definitely think it's well positioned. Definitely going to play it this RCQ season. I'll keep you guys updated on those results. Okay, guys, I really wanted to highlight some of the gameplay. Unfortunately, Magic Online's doing Magic Online things. It's not allowing me to pull up the vault and show a match from the challenge. It's unfortunate, but I do have a lot of gameplay already. More to come. Before making this video, I just trophied another league with the same list from the challenge. So definitely check it out. Again, appreciate everyone who's subscribed so far. If you're not doing so already, please like and subscribe. Also, follow me on X if you want some sideboard mapping advice. Just reach out to me there or Discord. Again, just if you want more content like this, want more Modern Challenge results, more trophy videos, I appreciate all the support I can get by just subscribing. So appreciate everyone who's subscribed so far. Looking forward to making some more content and hopefully getting some good results.